Hi, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of EVKA Talk at 5 o'clock. And today, my special guest is the sales growth expert. And he is the tech executives and sales professional in insurance industry. Calvino, welcome to the show. I'm happy to have you here. I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit.
You very much. I appreciate you having me here. It's a pleasure. Yeah, my name's Calvino De Luca, and I'm a 25-year veteran, I guess, of B2B sales leadership and on the feet sales professional. Yeah, I'm happy to be here and look forward to chatting with you.
Awesome. So you've spent, I'm not going to age you, but several decades
Too long.
yes, too long. Maybe it's too long in the most conservative. That's what I've heard of the industries. Can you tell us a little more about how insurance industry is different than other ones, and what attracts you to stick for so long in this industry?
Yeah, it's interesting because insurance is definitely a traditional industry, and it's been around for for hundreds of years now, and they have very kind of fixed ways of doing things, and there's good reasons for lots of those ways. However, it's a great industry. It's a business that everybody needs. It's not one that is disrupted easily. It's kind of recession proof to a large extent. And it really does add value to businesses and people's lives. So it is, yeah, it's traditional, it's conservative, as you said, but it's also very, very meaningful and impactful. And when you're in the industry, you get to see a lot of different organizations, what they do, how they do it, and that I've always found fascinating. That's one of the things that I love.
How did you end up in this industry to begin with? What brought you into the insurance field?
It was interesting. So when I was 17, I had my first business, and we built it up, sold it after a couple of years to a national partner, and I took a little time off. Actually went backpacking in Thailand, and then I'm coming home one day, and I'm driving around my hometown, and there's this big hexagonal shaped office building in the center of town, and my friend says to me, that's the toughest interview I've ever had in my life, and it was your insurance company. And being young and competitive and a little bit cocky, I decided I'm gonna walk in the next day with my resume and just see if I can get a job, see how hard this interview process is. So I walked in the door to Zurich Insurance Company, and yeah, about a week later I was hired. So I went.
What was the secret sauce? Did you charm them with your lovely accent? What did you do?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question. I think it was a robust interview process. I think they were looking for people that had a little bit of charisma and resilience. I would say because they put you through several steps and really tested your things like your memory and they did a whole like good cop bad cop routine, which I think was a bit probably wouldn't fly
What is
today.
the I think, like, since you've spent so many years in sales, yeah, you've spent so many years in sales in insurance vertical, what is the most valuable character traits of the successful salesperson in insurance?
The ability to listen, ask questions and listen. If you know how to ask the right questions and then let the customer talk, that's critical. Too often I see salespeople come in and they just want to do all the talking. They want to position themselves, they want to oversell, and they overcompensate, and then they miss some key pieces of information that would have really helped them in the sales process.
That's interesting. Hear this over and over and over again, that listening skill is the most. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's interesting. Do you have any fun stories where you came across a very resentful customer, and how did you handle that?
Lots of stories. Not normally in the insurance space, resentful customers come from a poor service experience, often where they've had a claim. Maybe they weren't covered in the way they thought they would be or should be. Maybe their broker or advisor, misled them in some way or didn't explain something properly. So that's a bad experience, and it costs businesses a lot of money, right? A lot of money. And in some cases, it can even put them out of business. So, there have been a couple of situations where, I've come across customers who have felt that way about the insurance industry and they've had those kind of experiences. And you really have to work hard to earn their trust. And it's a long process. You don't do that quickly. It takes time. You have to show up consistently. You have to, again, listen and do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to do something, make sure you deliver on it. But it can be tough.
So it's interesting that insurance companies, it's a very kind of tight community of companies that offer somewhat, there's a broad portfolio of products. At the same time, they kind of target the similar type of businesses. And now, as the technology evolves, they compete amongst each other with the better quality of service, the claim processing. What are the key differentiators for insurance companies that how they can win their customers over? What tools do they have, or like what processes are the most appealing to the end customer?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting question because differentiating yourself can be very difficult, especially when a lot of the brokers have the same types of coverages, the same access to the same marketplaces. But it really comes down, I think, to showing customers that you understand their business, and whether that's through building a good relationship at the ground level as a salesperson, or leveraging tools and in-house expertise that you have as part of your company. Lots of organizations have specialists in cyber insurance or manufacturing or environmental policies or construction. So they specialize and they really get to understand those spaces. So that is one way in which they can really kind of build the value and differentiate themselves.
That's awesome. Of course, I'm going to ask, how do you think AI is disrupting the insurance companies? Anywhere from the internal side and acquiring the customers. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just at the beginning of how AI is going to disrupt the insurance space. It is already helping massively with some of the mundanest. I mean, insurance is very administratively heavy, so there's lots of tasks where it's like comparing policy A to policy B, what's changed, assessing things like that. But there's also, if you think of an insurance business, it's all about data. So we have volumes and volumes of data anyway, and we make decisions about our customers based on the data that we collect. So really helping insurers and insurance companies analyze the data they've got, make fair and accurate decisions that protect the customer, protect the company, provide the services that are needed. If you've got company A that's a manufacturer, on the East Coast, and you're comparing them to same kind of company, but they're in South America, there's going to be some differences, even though they're the same type of company. So are we really assessing each risk correctly? So I think AI is becoming really valuable for that. When I think of the sales side of things, I also do a lot of kind of sales consulting work, and we're starting to see AI be leveraged by more and more sales groups. Cautious about it because it can be very, 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 very helpful tool for things such as researching your customers, understanding industries, even using it in kind of outreach tools. You can automate a lot of the processes. However, if you're in a complex sales cycle, the human to human interaction is still critical. And you need this. I think the salespeople and groups that are going to succeed are the ones that still understand that sales is human to human. You have to be able to use the tool, but maintain that relationship.
I love what you just said because I argued all the time saying that there is no B2C or B2B. There's always H to H. It's humans to humans. Regardless of what are your products or services or goods are you selling, you're still dealing with the human being on the other side. And that drives the aspects of trust, authenticity, connection. And those things are very hard, almost to impossible to synthesize through AI. AI can actually help us to get the information faster, get hold of the right persons, or put ourselves in front of the right persons faster. However, the closing the deals, the ultimate trust and handshake has to happen between the two human beings. Despite of everything, because we have these triggers in the back of our heads. Can I trust you? Are you reliable? Are you confident enough that you can take care of me, right? And as especially the noise of AI is really fulfilling everything in social media and LinkedIn on sales outreach. And I personally, like, I live and breathe AI technology, but I get so frustrated when emails that come to my inbox are 100% written by AI. And it doesn't make me feel connected. It doesn't make me feel valuable. Like, you didn't even bother to do the human touch to it and add something that it's distinguish you from the robotic answer of technology. I think that's what actually differentiate the good quality AI and not so good quality AI, or the poor literacy and usage of it. And it's interesting. I wanted to kind of dive deeper a little bit more what you have just said. Industry of insurance is holy grail for AI enablement in generative AI, agentic AI, conversational AI, because as you said, they have a ton of data, they have a ton of processes, they touch human beings at scale. However, they're most, at least what I've heard, the most conservative, the most regulated, and kind of we've done this for 20 years and it's been working. Why do we have to change? Reluctant to change industry. What, in your opinion, has to really change inside the organizations or in the industry as a whole to help those industries to embrace the change, move forward, and empower, again, like the gain a competitive advantage that AI can really bring to those industries?
I mean, it's a great question. I think I think there's an unknown factor. That's the risk, right? And if you think of insurance companies being conservative, they have to be, because they have to protect it. It's all about protecting the customers and the pool of money that people are paying into. So, with AI, it's trying to invest in it in the right way, but not jumping in too quick, too soon, without having a really solid understanding of what it means for the industry. There's also you touched on the regulation aspect. Every state, every province, every country has their own kind of set of regulations and licensing and rules that you need to abide by. So you have to be very careful when you start to bring in some of these large tools that can just, eat up the data, analyze it, spit out some insights. You have to be able to understand, well, what are the regulations, in California versus, New York or England? Because you might collect the information in California, but it's going back to an underwriter at Lloyd's of London, and they have to be able to comply by the same rules, and you have to be able to prove it, right? You have to be able to have the visibility and transparency into how you're using the data. So it's interesting, and I think it's going to be, it is that they're investing heavily, as an industry, but I think the regulations need to catch up. Because the regulations don't change fast. So I think that's really the thing that's holding us back the most. Yeah.
That's awesome. But I also know, let's change the subject a little bit here. I know that you're also a speaker and entrepreneur. Can you tell me a little more about your other side of the story?
Yeah, no. So I've really got kind of two other kind of bows, I guess, to my portfolio, and that's I do sales consulting. So I work with B2B sales organizations, often commercial insurance brokers or technology resellers or MSPs, to really improve their sales processes and functions. So that could be in the form of fractional sales leadership, sales coaching, or working with a business development team to help them grow. And then I also run the Atlantic Technology Summit, which is in its seventh year now, and it's the largest technology conference in Atlantic Canada. So I've got two things. It's actually the Tech Summit this year is coming up on November 19th, so we're just hitting the busy time of year for it as it's coming up fast. But that really brings together the whole region to talk about the latest technology trends. Obviously, AI is a big one. Cybersecurity is a big one. So yeah, I'm very very involved in the community building and also in the helping B2B sales teams be better.
That's awesome. So, for again, let me just repeat it in case someone misses. The Atlantic Technology Summit is going to be in Wednesday. It's at Wednesday, right? 19th of November, 2025 in Canada. Is it in Toronto?
It's in Halifax.
Halifax. Okay. Great. I have lots of good friends in Canada. I've been promising to come visit. Probably not in November, though.
Will be the best time, but it's not too bad yet. It's not too bad yet.
What are the most interesting topics that excites you to talk about in front of the audience?
That's interesting. For me, it's about things that are thought provoking. So if you can talk about a topic that is going to change how somebody views something, or at least get them thinking and questioning how they view something, and that can vary from time to time. Things like privacy in AI is a fascinating one. Techniques and ways of thinking about customer interactions is often a big one too. But I like it when we've all been to hundreds of conferences over the years. And it can be hard to stay engaged and listening. But if as a speaker or a presenter, when you can drop something into a presentation and you can hear it in the audience, and it's like just making them think about how they view whatever problem or topic you're discussing. But those are the moments for me that make it worth it. Often it's approaches on doing things, dealing with customers. Have you thought about doing it this way? Stuff like that.
Interesting. And I feel the same kind of challenge because I'm passionate to talk about AI, but it's very easy to get slipped into the very technical stuff. And when I feel like I lost the audience in the third sentence, I'm like, oh my God, I need to slow it down a little bit and simplify it. And what are the most common questions in sales or enterprise do you see that comes in on the topic of AI? I've heard you've mentioned the privacy aspect, and it's a very common question. Is there anything else that you hear quite often that people in industry are asking, with the insurance or not?
Yeah, I think from the sales perspective, it you know is it effective? I think is the question that I hear the most. Because to your point earlier, we all now see the hundreds and hundreds of in-mails and emails that we get, and we know when most of them are not real, right? When they've been written by AI.
Yes.
So the question is, how do we use this tool effectively? Because we know the tool's not going away, right? So it's how do we use it effectively to be heard above the noise? Because that's the key for sales success is how do you get heard above all of the noise that's going on in our daily lives. So that's the challenge. How do you use it effectively? And I would say it varies from industry to industry a little bit. There's nuances across the board, but yeah, that's the big one.
It's interesting. And I have an uncommon opinion on this topic. And that may sound very strange coming from someone who lives and breathes AI in enterprise space. And I do have the same challenge, right, to be heard like in any vendor and have an effective sales and marketing campaigns. But I almost say that we need to do the quite opposite what the AI is doing right now. And it may sound very counterintuitive because folks in sales are really, really struggling and trying to push AI and push AI generated contents at scale. And you can X the volume of outreach in different shapes and forms powered by AI, hyper personalized, whatever you want to call it. But I would almost argue to say do the complete opposite because that is the way how you can stand out and sound more human. I think like for us what really truly works is to really write it in your own words, forget about AI. AI will help you to research the person, will help you understand their pain points, their ideas, their who they are. But what you write and like you write it to your best friend and put some humor in it. Make it relatable. Typo mistakes is not a sign of a bad writing anymore.
Yeah.
It is the identification of human being, right? It's really being human. There's really, unless you're an genius in a prompt engineer and you can really tune in AI to truly sound like a human being. However, it's a like top 1% that actually can master it to that level. We've done that several times for our customers and ourselves, but that is the kind of the extreme level of the personalizations in writing styles. And there's orchestrations needed for multiple LM models to achieve that type of quality of outcome. For a majority of folks who really want to get through the noise, I think the best way is to really tap into the human side of things because I think we're missing this every single day more and more and more. And over AI, everything that pushes people apart then brings them closer. And sales and marketing, right? You'd agree with me that it's something that brings people closer together.
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, getting heard and getting seen is the key. And yeah, using AI to research, understand your target customers, understand the trends and challenges that they've got, but then making a connection with the human behind it that you want to, that's the decision maker or the influencer. That's the challenging bit. If you think of, I don't know about you, but like when I go somewhere, I often know what I'm looking for when I want to buy it. I know if I'm going to particular car, particular item in the store. I know what I'm looking for. And if there's a salesperson involved, they're often just in my way unless they can add some value or bring in some perspective that I don't know. But if they just come at me with the standard kind of script for whatever their industry is, I'm not really that interested in it because I've already kind of pre-made a decision. But if they come at me from a place of question, like maybe questioning honestly, or can I help you, rather than trying to push something onto somebody or in a unique way, it can be good. There's a famous kind of expression that we've used here a few times over the years. It's called the donut drop, and it really was born out of the fact that there were some customers that would never return phone calls, would never return emails. So one day I'm with one of my junior reps, and we're just driving through town, and we just go to the donut store. We go to Tim Hortons here in Canada, and we just grabbed a couple of boxes of a dozen donuts. We just walked in, left the donuts for the customer with a note saying, "Hey, this is for you and your team. We'll catch you next time." Didn't even try and sell them anything. And then we left and followed up with an email saying, "Sorry, we missed you." Every one of the customers emailed us back immediately. "Thank you for the donuts. We really appreciated it. The team loved them. Next time you're in town, give us a call. We'll make sure we meet you." So a silly little thing like a $10 box of donuts break the cycle of what they are, what customers are stuck in today, right? So it's the human touch.
The human touch. And so, how do you use AI technologies in your day to day life or your work life for you personally?
I use it all the time now. Actually, I'm trying to perfect how I use it. Actually, to be honest, I'm still learning. Even though I've been using it for a couple of years, but I use it if I have a question about something I'm doing, I'll ask it the question just for a second opinion to bounce some ideas off, maybe to make me question something. Have I missed an angle or a perspective that I shouldn't have? So for clarity, making sure I'm not missing stuff. I use it for planning. If I'm going to be planning an event, if I'm going to be you know taking a trip somewhere. Um, so a lot of research and organizational stuff, I would say is the big thing. But I'm also looking at it from a business perspective. I'm really kind of digging into the AI employee. So having AIs and GPTs for specific roles. So a research one, a content one, different ones for different roles that you might need in your organization, and then having them kind of talk to each other about stuff. And it's fascinating. So I don't think I'm there yet, and I'm sure people are way ahead of me on this in many ways, but there's a lot. There's a lot of potential there. It's just finding the right mix and right balance and yeah, collaborating with it correctly.
That's awesome. Calvino, do you have kids by any chance?
I have one boy, yes, yeah, 9-year-old boy.
Are you talking to your kids about AI or do they talk about AI at school at 9 years old? I mean, I have my daughter, she's nine too.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're really talking about it at school, but I've actually I'm in the process of setting up a kind of an AI learning environment for my son. So we're taking the
Could you please say it again? Because
yeah.
I lost the connection for a second there.
Yeah, so I don't think they talk about it in their schools yet too much, but I've actually just set up an AI learning environment for my son. I've taken the curriculum from the province here, so the Department of Education curriculum, and I've uploaded it into an AI and given it a bunch of parameters to help create some fun games and lessons to help him learn, take him through some of his homework. And so I'm introducing him to it in that context, and I think the teachers are probably a little hesitant to do that at this point. For me, it's like, why wouldn't I teach him how to use this tool and get him familiar with it? Because it's here to stay. And it's a different world for the kids growing up now. So they need to know how to use it effectively and properly and safely.
Absolutely. I very strongly advocate for early educations for AI children, and maybe not so much in elementary schools, but in middle school and definitely in high schools. Here in DC, Washington, DC area in our US, I haven't heard yet in public schools to roll out any education, but I'm talking to multiple adults who operate in AI fields, you know, experience it with themselves, learning it, and how they translate it into kids. And it's a fascinating story how even a simple way that you can use the ChatGPT or Grok or Google Gemini or Anthropic or whatever platform that you're using, can tweak it in a simple way that to really make it engaging and exciting for the younger generation, because they're going to live in a fascinating world of AI technologies, and their life will be very, very different than ours. And I think their work will be very different than ours.
It really will. It really will. I think every generation kind of worries about the future. I tend to be more optimistic, because I think that, there's always innovation, there's always technological changes, and at the end of the day, it's how you adapt to use them. And I think the whole, sure, our economy and industry is going to adapt, and our job as parents and technologists for building the future is just to enable it and to allow and support the growth in education to allow it to happen, right? And um, it's exciting. It's exciting.
That's awesome. Calvino, thank you so much for your insights and information. So as we're wrapping up this episode today, give me some tips. How would you recommend the sales executives in kind of regulated and enterprise companies to go about in this ever-changing space of AI into gaining more customers, getting more tractions, and getting closed deals?
Yeah, don't. My one word of advice is don't be fooled into leaning too heavily on the tools. The tools are not where the decisions are made. Tools are just that, they're tools. But tools never do anything by themselves. You need to have the human interaction, and you need to understand the limits of a tool and the impact of a tool, good or bad. So don't overvalue the tools. I see a lot of sales leaders and business owners starting to do that. And remember that at the end of the day, the tools are great, but the people you hire, and the people that buy from you care about that connection more than anything.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
And if any people want to reach out to you and connect with you, what's the best way to find you?
yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. I also have a couple of websites, so salesgrowthteam.com or theatlantictechsummit.com. So any of those ways was the easiest way to find me. And yeah, be happy to connect with anyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Calvin. I appreciate your time today.
No problem. Thank you, Eva. Take care.